So today is Tuesday of Holy Week, and yesterday I talked about how Jesus called us to love God with everything that we have and love our neighbor as ourself. He went on to have several discussions and teachings throughout Holy Week. Probably, as best I can tell, on Tuesday of that week, one of the things that happened was he took his disciples up on this hill and he started to tell them about what was going to happen in the days and years to come. He was telling them about the end, and he starts talking to them about the end, and then he goes into some parables. You know them, the parable of the ten virgins who they needed oil for their lamps, and then he talks about the parable of the talents. And I'd never realized this before, but this parable in Matthew's account, he tells it just a few days before he's to go to the cross. And he says, it will be like a man, the coming of the Son of Man, his coming back, will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. And then he goes on and he tells a story about he gave one 10 talents, that's an amount of money, a large amount of money. He gave one 5, that's also a very large amount of money. One 1, which in and of itself is a large amount of money. And then he leaves. And the one who has 10, he doubles it and gets 10 more. The one who has 5 doubles it and gets 5 more. And the one who has 1, he buries it and it doesn't gain anything. And then when the master comes back, they have to give account for what they did with his money. And I think it's really interesting because I never put this together, that he's telling this parable just days before he himself is going to go to the cross and initiate his own leaving. And he's telling this to his disciples, the ones that he is entrusting the ministry of the gospel, the message that he has been proclaiming for 3 years. He's entrusting that to them. And so there's this kind of a little bit, it just sharpens it for me. You know, Jesus calls us to love God with all that we are, love our neighbors as ourselves. But there's also this side of things that he's entrusted us with much. He's entrusted us with proclaiming the gospel. He's entrusted us with loving people. He's entrusted us with the gifts, talents, abilities, the ministries, the spheres of influence that we have. You know, just a few days before he went to the cross, he wanted to make it so clear to his disciples, like, guys, what you do with what I've entrusted you with is a huge, huge deal. That's a challenge to me. Am I living my life? Am I using the things that God has entrusted to me so that when he comes back, he will say, well done, good and faithful servant? Or am I just spending it on myself? That's something to think about, I think, and ponder this Holy Week, because it was something that Jesus was on his heart, that his disciples would continue on his mission.